Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 20th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 294. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to be talking about these 10 articles, which I did not put in the bot. Daggone it. New Mexico Anti-Littering campaign. This one takes a turn. Old minerals on Easter Island. Do people trust AI with their money? Haunted wineries. The Orionids meteor shower. Save lives on the spot. Yes, a toilet camera. That's not strange at all. Night Rivian. Recycle your mattress. With a typo. Mail carriers get a basic upgrade. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. Go over there and sign up. Become a citizen, and you too can enjoy all of this information that gets aggregated. Piques your curiosity, maybe some interest, right? And then you go over, read the article, and then come to the show and you talk shop about the show, about the news, about whatever else you want to talk about here in the chat over on Twitch and YouTube. Then you can go and download the podcast, leave a 5-star review, because that's what you do, right? And you like and subscribe over on YouTube and here on Twitch, right? We stream to both. Anyway, see you on the other side. All right, so I did not put the show notes in Omatron, so I need to do that real quick. But let's get going. The first article is over. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. So I got distracted because I didn't put the stuff in Omatron. So sentient AI from the future, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mayor Watt? And welcome to every hometown citizen who's joining us.
Oh, and I grabbed the wrong headlines. I'm doing all right, except that I kind of messed up this intro by not putting the show notes in the bot. And the bot is not the sentient AI, right?
No, that's completely separate from me.
That's right. So what about this? New Mexico taps meth cooking mass murderer for new anti-littering campaign.
I mean, that's always who you want at the face of your campaign, right? When you think New Mexico,
man,
or when you think following the law, right? Anti-littering.
Yeah. Just so you know, I put Omatron into effect, so you can actually get the show notes, but they're in a wonky order, but the URLs point to the right source. So like it makes it obvious what you're going to be clicking to. So I'll clean it up. And
I doubt we have many mass murderer articles in one show, so
yeah,
maybe it'll
exactly.
be easily figured out.
This one is a shocker. Okay, so when choosing spokespeople for your campaign centered around good civic responsibility, our minds do not drift automatically to prolific meth cooks with serious body counts. Sure, the humble meth chef has certain public-minded qualities, industriousness, entrepreneurial spirit, and an all-purpose can-do attitude.
Wow, lots of snark here.
But they're also drug peddling murderers, apparently. So it is with some mild shock that this article reports that New Mexico has hired a noted fugitive murderer dead person, Walter White, who has been tapped to be the face of its new anti-littering campaign. So apparently,
Wait a
Bryan
second,
Cranston.
isn't that the person who's the inspiration for Breaking Bad, or am I mistaken?
So it says, well, Walter White is the Breaking Bad character.
Oh, okay.
So they're using
Oh,
the
I see.
star from, right.
I recognize
So
the name, but okay, that makes sense.
Walter White is back in a pair of Vince Gilligan directed PSAs, and he really doesn't want you littering in New Mexico. So William Hughes over at avclub.com put this article together with a whole bunch of snark, but it's really just down to earth, so to speak. Marketing using a very well-known personality. So it says, that's right, Bryan Cranston has paid back his longtime association with the Land of Enchantment by appearing in the state's new Breaking Bad Habits campaign, dusting off old hat, growl, and resting pissy face expressions for a pair of shorts in which the Breaking Bad star insists, "Keep your litter out of my territory." Yeah.
So when I read this headline, I thought they actually hired a criminal for this campaign. I hadn't read the article.
Then its clickbaitiness actually worked, because that's really what it was. Yeah. I don't know. It's supposed to be good natured and all, but I don't know. I'm not really into Breaking Bad. I understand the premise of it. I understand all of the machinations of it, but I didn't like the kind of, not really glorifying, but I just don't like kind of making it into a popular, happy-go-lucky show that everybody is really excited about. But to each their own, right? So hopefully folks who see the commercial will take Walt's hint and think twice before they toss their trash into or across our beautiful state. Gilligan stated. Otherwise, Heisenberg just might come after them, which is exactly what I don't really like. That, I mean, it's supposed to be good natured and all, and so you have to take it with a grain of salt and giggle about it. Oh, look, they're being funny, haha. But just don't litter. You don't have to sit there and
Right.
put the
There's some
subliminal.
kid who's going to see this commercial and actually think, oh my gosh, something's going to happen to me if I litter,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I'm all for instilling good habits, but you don't
Fear
want
of
people to
somebody
be
coming.
terrified. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's really kind of, it's supposed to be good natured. So Cranston has occasionally joked around with his Walter White image, doing various reunions with his old co-star Aaron Paul, poke at the pair's legacy with the show. And he most recently suited up for Real as Walt in 2022, appearing in 2 episodes of the final season of Better Call Saul, which is a spin-off from Breaking Bad. But yeah, there you go.
Well, I've never seen either, but this is a surprising association.
Yeah. It's an I mean, when you read this, you might actually think, oh, there's something going on, until you realize that it's from AV Club, and then odds on there's not something serious. But let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Mysterious 165 million year old minerals found on Easter Island defy plate tectonics. Tiny minerals are revolutionizing our understanding of textbooks. Our understanding of textbooks? How about our understanding
Maybe
by way of
from
textbooks? Yeah, from textbooks. Easter
or
Island.
in that goes into writing the textbooks.
Yeah, because I don't think tiny minerals are helping me understand textbooks, but helping us understand, I don't know, the world around us via textbooks. Easter Island consists of several extinct volcanoes. The oldest lava deposits formed some 2.5 million years ago on top of an oceanic plate, not much older than volcanoes themselves, the volcanoes themselves that are on this island. In 2019, a team of Cuban and Colombian geologists left for Easter Island to accurately date the island. So Utrecht University is where this is from, but it's they're who wrote the article, but scitechdaily.com is our source. So to do so, they basically went to Easter Island to accurately date the volcanic island. To do so, they resorted to a tried and tested recipe, dating zircon minerals. When magma cools, these minerals crystallize. They contain a bit of uranium, which turns into, quote unquote, turns into lead through radioactive decay over time. Because we know how fast that process happens, and you know how much time has transpired. But surprisingly, not only is there 2.5 million year old material, but up to 165 million year old material. So how could it be? Yeah. So from some hot spot birthed Easter Island. That hot spot can move away and build other ocean floor mounts and whatnot. So they're talking about these subduction zones and plate tectonics in general. Volcanoes like those on Easter Island are so-called hotspot volcanoes. Oh, look, it says it. These are common in the Pacific Ocean. Hawaii is a famous example. They form from large blobs of rock that slowly rise from the deep earth mantle, so-called mantle plumes. So every time the plates shift a little bit, the mantle plume produces a new volcano and or a new
Okay,
island
so
eventually.
this is predates whatever the tectonic plates were in that area.
Yep. To answer that question, Rojas Agramonte needed evidence from the geology of the Ring of Fire, an area around the ocean that, with many earthquakes and volcanism, where oceanic plates dip or subduct into the Earth's mantle. So she contacted Utrecht geologist, I think Douwe van Hinsbergen. So the difficulty is that the plates from 165 million years ago have long since disappeared in those subduction zones. Naturally, they kind of shift around and get pulled under. So when he added a large volcanic plateau to those reconstructions at the site of present-day Easter Island 165 million years ago, it turns out that the plateau must have disappeared under the Antarctic peninsula some 110 million years ago. So why is there mineralization on here that is 165 million years old?
Right, that really doesn't make any sense.
And if you dig down under this, there's probably a body. So where did all this come from?
Right, part of the statue for
Yeah.
those in the podcast.
Oh, right. We're looking at a statue of one of the Moai, which is a bunch of rock statues of similar build and shape, but until recently, we didn't know that there were full-on bodies, apparently. Full bodies underneath all of this sediment. Um, so the classical conveyor belt theory has already been difficult to reconcile with the observation that mantle plumes stay in place while everything around them moves, which I've always thought was interesting, right? So why does that stuff stay while the plate
Right.
shifts?
It doesn't make a lot of sense unless it's just coming straight from the core or something of the earth.
So the discovery of the ancient minerals on Easter Island therefore suggests that the Earth's mantle behaves fundamentally differently and moves much slower than has always been assumed, a possibility that both Rojas Agramonte and Van Hinsbergen, and their team raised a few years ago in studies on the Galapagos Islands and New Guinea, and for which Easter Island now provides new clues. So they're going to have to do some more research to figure out why this is taking place, why there's these older minerals sitting on here. They're not being shoved anywhere, even though the minerals are supposedly already being subducted somewhere else.
Right. I mean, I guess studies in locations like this are really good because presumably, there are fewer variables, right? Because there's a more constrained
Oh, yeah.
set of geological conditions, etc.
Yeah. And there isn't as many people that are, reconditioning the surface. We'll strip off a mountaintop to get minerals, but there's nobody doing that on Easter Island. So this is about as untouched as you can get for an island, short of a little island somewhere where nobody's ever gone. Just got to find them, I suppose. I
Short of
suppose
all the
we've,
Moai statues.
yeah, there was a big population there for a time in comparison to the size of the island, but supposedly they just tore out all of the trees and that's what did them in. I don't know. Let's keep moving though. Next article is over in the Marble Channel. 1 second. Do people trust AI with their money? Here's what research shows. When it comes to investing and planning your financial future, are you more willing to trust a person or a computer? Which is interesting. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, do you get to pick what the qualifications of the person are? Because if it's an average person, probably people would trust AI. But
You
if
know,
it's like a financial planner, I think they'd go with the person.
which is really interesting because the financial advisor is informed by things like AI and technology in general.
That's true. But yeah, I think it might depend on whether it's just some random person or somebody with perceived expertise.
Yep, Bob's Bait and Financial Analysis. the conversation is pretty prolific. I keep seeing them in all kinds of news sources. I guess Gurdon Verdict put this article together. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing their name correctly, but um, says this isn't a hypothetical question anymore. Big banks and investment firms are using artificial intelligence to help make financial predictions and give advice to clients. Morgan Stanley uses AI to mitigate the potential biases of its financial analysts when it comes to stock market predictions. And one of the world's biggest investment banks, Goldman Sachs, recently announced that it was trialing the use of AI to help write computer code, though the bank declined to say which division it was being used in. Other companies are using AI to predict which stocks might go up or down. This has actually been going on for a little while.
I
Um,
also think this is interesting because, at least with individuals, they might pay one of these firms, but the firms are using AI. So, how much are they, or what are they paying for?
yeah, and the people that are the people that are doing this have fed data into the system of previous transactions. And so the AI is really just replicating what the humans have done in the historical record. So what's going to come out of the AI is going to be the actions that the humans would have done, except now you don't have to continuously pay the human to provide these answers. So just like everything where technology comes over and takes over the job, humans are literally working themselves into, well, oblivion. They're not needed anymore for financial advice because there's been enough data put into the system for the AI to answer. But they say a distrust of AI wasn't universal. Some groups of people were more open to AI advice than others, but in general, people were less likely to follow advice if they knew AI was involved in making it. They seemed to trust the human experts more,
But number one, do they always know if AI is being used?
right?
Do they know anything about AI, right? Depending on where they're getting their data about AI. Do they think it's generative or, you know, centered on a certain industry?
Oh, right. Yeah. So it's kind of like law and AI. You don't want just a general AI spitting out whatever garbage it's going to hallucinate. You want one that's focused and knows just the law. That way you don't get some weird, made up, um,
Right. Cases that don't exist.
yeah, which leads you into trouble. The same, I think, should apply to finance. There shouldn't be anything else. But see, finance and financial analysis, business analysis, strategic management in general is holistic. You have to have a wide understanding of all of the various confluences that lead to why a business succeeds or
Right.
fails.
It could have to do with think something in world events or something in a particular sector, all these things that are not necessarily financial.
Yeah, not purely financial, but then you do have technical trades. Technical trades focus on nothing but the ups and downs of the stock market itself and not the holistic analysis that somebody else might take. I follow a holistic analysis process. I don't just do technical trading. Day traders follow technical trades and then sometimes react to news in key moments. But yeah, I can see why some people, and the article basically says that people would rather trust humans, but there's a cohort that would rather trust AI because of the internal biases of the analyst. Yep. Let's keep going. The next article is eventually going to appear because this browser is really killing me. Yeah, the next article is over in the Order of the Grape. The most haunted wineries in the world. It's spooky season, and there's a couple of articles in here in tonight's show where I decided to inject Halloween. Be honest. So this
Well,
is
it's
one of them.
getting pretty close.
Yeah, 10 days, right? So it's spooky season, which means it's time for scary movie marathons, haunted hay rides, and of course, recounting creepy winery ghost stories while sipping on your favorite Cabernet Sauvignon. Um, Historic wineries can be centuries old, located in remote areas, and filled with generations of family folklore, making them prime suspects for paranormal activity. Think screams coming from the vineyards. Ah!
I mean,
That's
that could
me.
be dangerous if you're sitting there with a wine glass with a red wine.
Yeah.
And you hear that, you might break the glass, spill red everywhere.
Hey, Kath, welcome to the show. Um, for whatever reason, I hadn't scrolled all the way down yet. So good to see you. So think screams coming from the vineyards, mysterious objects flying through the air, or unexpected sightings of a scorned woman in a elegant green gown roaming the chateau hills. So vinepair.com and Hannah Staub put the article together. And so they talk about various wineries around the world that are the most haunted. And I guess there's a lot of these chateaus here in France. So
I
Chateau
mean,
de,
that makes more sense, right? Than somewhere that hasn't existed for a long period of time, right? There's more potential for generations of ghosts.
yeah, Joe's Winery up the street, that's in a strip mall is not going to be the same as one that has seen King Charles the Seventh's children hang out there. So Chateau de Brissac, I guess it is. I'm not. I can't pronounce French very well. From the Loire Valley in France. Um, Ghostly figure often seen around the castle in a green dress, so that makes a call back to the little intro. It's thought to be the spirit of Charlotte de Brise, one of King Charles the Seventh's children. In the 15th century, Charlotte was allegedly unhappily married to a nobleman and was caught having an affair. And her jealous husband killed her in a fit of rage. And now they haunt the chateau. Chateau du Tilane, or Tillan, from Bordeaux, France. Not to be outdone, France's esteemed Bordeaux region also boasts a grand chateau haunted by a similarly named lovelorn woman called La Dame Blanche, or the White Lady. The castle's lore suggests this is a ghost of a Moorish princess named Blanca. Blanca is said to have fallen in love with someone who her father deemed unfit. Look at that. How about, I don't know if it's pronounced Beringer or Beringer. It might be Beringer Vineyards because I think I've had Beringer wine. Napa Valley, California, the Beringer Estate is the longest continuously operating winery in Napa Valley, so it makes sense that the winery is rife with a haunted story. Haunted history is what they say. So the property's Rhine House was built in 1884 and functioned as Frederick Beringer's residence. The gorgeous 17-room mansion was modeled after the family's German home in Mainz on Rhine. And the stately home is apparently a hub of paranormal activity, and the staff maintains a log of incidents. Oh, wow. Just
It's
going
such a
back.
thing. They're like, okay, today this is what occurred.
Objects mysteriously fly through the air. But look, if you are from Germany, then you probably have a parent that has hooked something at you. So I don't know if this is either a ghost throwing it or a German mom. Let's keep moving. Seppelsfield Winery, Barossa Valley, Australia. There might be some spooky surprises if you visit the estate, though. It's rumored that generations of the Seppelt family still haunt the grounds. Paranormal activity like flickering lights and random screams coming from the vineyards, apparently crescendos around the anniversaries of Seppelt family members' deaths. So if there's 100 years of this, you can imagine that it's constantly screaming.
I'm not sure if these are a draw to these vineyards or
So I'm
not.
gonna go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just like some visitors may be a little off put by hearing screams while they're trying to relax at the winery.
Oh yeah, exactly. I don't know. Some people are. It'll get drawn to them. So I'm gonna jump through a couple that you can go and take a look at if you follow the show notes, and we're gonna jump straight to the last one, which is apparently named, I guess, apropos. Murder Ridge Winery in Mendocino, California. If you're wondering if the name of the winery has anything to do with why it's haunted, the answer is yes. Yes, it does. So apparently, Murder Ridge shares the story of a 911 axe, or 1911 axe murder of 70-year-old Joe Cooper that happened on the Wineries estate. The primary suspect, Pete Giannoli, was found with the victim's coat and a bottle of wine. He was acquitted by a jury in the trial, but he returned to the scene of the crime later that year to boast about his horrid deeds and threatened others. He was committed to a state hospital, and the ghost of Cooper is said to haunt the winery to this day. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, at least that one, you probably know what you're getting into with the name.
Let's go to Murder Ridge Winery. No, I don't think so. Let's keep
You
going.
can either go to like some peaceful sounding name like Rolling Hills Winery, or let's pick Murder Ridge.
Yeah. Peaceful Valley Winery. That's where I want to go. So the next article is over in Technology Today, which is one of our shows later today. Halley's Comet debris ignites fiery fireballs, which is, I guess, as to what fireballs?
It's just fireballs.
It's just fireballs. In the Orionids meteor shower, this year skywatching peaks with the Orionids meteor shower, showcasing bright meteors against the night's brightest stars. With connections to the famed Halley's Comet, 2024 has been a remarkable year for both amateur and professional astronomers, featuring everything from a total solar eclipse in April to a partial lunar eclipse during September's harvest moon. I totally forgot about that total solar eclipse in April. It seems forever
Is that
ago.
coming up? Oh, no, that was this past year. There's another one coming up, I guess, in 2026, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that. But it's coming at a different angle, so not everybody's going to get to see it as brilliantly as they did this year because of the path that it took.
In South America, maybe, but I'd have to look.
So it happens all the time in various places. Wayne Smith from NASA put the article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. And so, yeah, you're going to see a bunch of meteor showers. I don't know how long this actually lasts. Let's see.
Well, it's
October 20. Well, today and tomorrow, this weekend. So good timing, I guess. Viewing tips for the best meteor show is get away from light. In less than 30 minutes in the dark, your eyes will adapt and you'll be able to see the meteors, but you really need to get away from a light pollution. Go out to the mountains if you can, on the opposite side of where the cities are, and look to the dark sky. If you get too much light pollution, you won't see much. So it says, aside from potentially producing spectacular fireballs, the Orionids reflect quite a legacy. Their parent comet is the most famous of them all, Halley's Comet. Each time that Halley returns to the inner solar system, its nucleus sheds ice and rocky dust into space, and then that dust eventually become the Orionids in October, and the Acarids, from Aquarius, and I guess it's in that region, in May if they collide with Earth's atmosphere. Comet Halley takes about 76 years to orbit the sun once. The last time Comet Halley, I don't know why they don't just refer to it as Halley's Comet, was seen by casual observers in 1986, and it will not enter the inner solar system again until 2061. So you basically get to see these remnants as we brush through them.
Right. So you might want to see them if you have a chance to.
Yep. Just try to turn off all the lights around you and give yourself a little while to adjust, and you'll be able to see them. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Tiny new invention diagnoses heart attacks in minutes and could save lives on the spot. A rapid and precise blood test could deliver quicker results to physicians and first responders. Every second matters during a heart attack. The new blood test can diagnose it in minutes instead of hours and could be adapted for use by first responders or even at home.
I mean, this is really good because there are things that mimic heart attacks, or people don't think they're having a heart attack, but they are. In particular, I know female have less well-known symptoms than men.
Yeah, and things like shingles can actually cause people to think that they're having a heart attack, and even doctors. can think it. But anyway, Johns Hopkins University put the article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. And it says proof of concept work, which can be modified to detect infectious diseases and cancer biomarkers, is newly published in Advanced Science. But using biophotonics to diagnose heart attacks, Zhang and senior author Ishan Barman develop diagnostic tools through biophotonics using laser light to detect biomarkers, which are bodily responses to conditions including disease. And that's how a lot of blood tests work. It's if there is a reaction to something, then you are positive.
Right. So they're more testing you for the reaction than the original event.
Yeah, or the chemistry changes because you're having an adverse reaction to some bodily function going awry. Though an estimated 800,000 people plus have heart attacks every year in the United States, heart attacks remain one of the trickiest conditions to diagnose, with symptoms that vary widely and biological signals that can be subtle and easy to miss in the early stages of an attack when medical intervention can do the most good. So the heart of the invention is a tiny chip with a groundbreaking nanostructured surface on which blood is tested. So I don't know which way, like they're showing this chip, but I don't know if looking at this chip is actually indicative of a positive or negative response to having a heart attack. They just say that it's a tiny chip with a groundbreaking nanostructure surface on which blood is tested.
Right. It doesn't tell us from the captions.
Yeah. So the standalone blood test the team created provides results in 5 to 7 minutes. It's also more accurate and more affordable than current methods. Though created for speedy diagnostic work in a clinical setting, the test could be adapted to a handheld tool for first responders. And it's kind of like that dark field microscopy that I was working on, trying to find nanoplastics in liquids. Then somebody came up with it in a mobile device to go out to the field and do testing in situ in various places. I think it's pretty amazing. So there's always this fundamental research that's taking place. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bias now being put on science to only turn out positives. And at the nearest hint of a quote unquote failed experiment, instead of assigning it as a positive regardless, because now you know that that way is not the right way to find this or that or the other or prove something, they basically say, well, if I don't think that I'm high enough in the success percentage, I won't even bother doing it. And now we're seeing a lot of fraudulent science making it through to journals and stuff like that. So the heart of the invention is this tiny chip with the groundbreaking nanostructure that we've been talking about here. The chip's metasurface enhances electric and magnetic signals during Raman spectroscopy analysis, making heart attack biomarkers visible in seconds, even in ultra low concentrations. The tool is sensitive enough to flag heart attack biomarkers that might not be detected at all with current tests, or not detected until much later in an attack, because an attack can take a considerable amount of time. There's even a form called a walking heart attack, where the heart muscle is basically dying off, but you're still upright and somewhat functional.
Right. And I mean, this kind of test, if it's actually put out on the market, could mean the difference in somebody living or not.
Yep. As long as, you know, the actuarial tables at the health insurance company and the MBAs that direct treatment and policy and procedure say yay. So this next article, though, is over in Late Night Geeks. Throne's toilet camera takes pictures of your poop. Yep,
As everybody has always wanted.
that's a sentence. Yeah. So if you're going to sit on a throne, just know that it's Throne, an Austin-based health startup. It sells a camera and it clips to the underside of your toilet bowl so that it can take a picture of your poop. Currently in beta. I don't even know what to say about this. The system utilizes artificial intelligence. Of course it does, to examine your poo in a way, as a way of determining things like gut health and hydration. I'm I had to choose it, but so Brian Heater over at TechCrunch.com put the article together, and it has an app. The company is quick to note that the images are anonymized, which doesn't mean jack shit, really. I mean, I'm sorry, but no, they're not really anonymized. If you have one of these, you have an account, you're downloading an app, you're reviewing the results or
Right,
whatever.
you're attached to your own data somehow.
This is a 23andMe breach away from everyone knows my poo. There's a book called Everybody Poos.
Well, maybe you can buy the book along with this.
Now it's going to say Everybody Knows My Poo. There's going to be a sequel to it, right? Yeah. Anonymity, I think, is.
This is like a weird application of this, but I know there are a lot of health
Yes.
related things that they can determine from this.
See, but I don't think that a picture is worth 1,000 words in this case, because if you're trying to detect things like colon cancer, there's biomarkers that are there, because, well, that's how it works. We process stuff and it eventually gets evacuated. And that includes free floating cancer cells. And that's what gets detected. But you're not going to detect that from a camera. It's a level
No,
of.
I mean, maybe if it gets somebody to go into the doctor, but it's not going to do the diagnosis itself, probably.
We only capture images of the content of your toilet bowl thrown rights. Any other data is irrelevant to our mission and could compromise our ability to provide accurate health insights. We use image recognition technology to automatically delete any non-relevant images. This ensures that only toilet-related data is retained. All right. So it says we do not access an individual's data. Our team only analyzes anonymized aggregated data, which means that data can't be traced back to the original owner, i.e. you, which again, I don't buy that for a second, but that's okay. I'm not the
maybe it's
customer for
harder to
this.
do that, but I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a data breach away from somebody seeing pretty
Which
much anything.
sadly, this could totally be a target for that, right?
Yeah, sure. So shortly after raising an initial $1.2 million from investors, including Knight Capital, Reef Ventures, and Hustle Fund, the company found itself at a crossroads. Within 6 weeks, we came to the painful realization that the market was just blocked up, and capital wasn't flowing, and customers weren't being retained. It was almost like there was, sorry, there wasn't enough there to really hold back the tide. Well, anyway, so we pivoted, and our investors were shockingly cool with us tackling consumer hardware. Throne didn't just pivot, it pivoted to poo. The company is focused on both the aging population and those with chronic digestive conditions, including Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, and IBS, which is interesting that this article mentions Crohn's disease because we have another article that talks about it. But let's keep going. Sound good?
Sounds
I
good.
mean, I don't want to. Yeah, I'll just leave it alone. So the next article is over in Reality Hacker. Rivian gets Knight Rider spooky for Halloween. The Rivian mobile app offers Halloween car costumes, such as the iconic kit from Knight Rider. So if you've never seen Knight Rider, you have this car, and it is supposed to be artificial intelligent vehicle. Nick Goat over at digitaltrends.com put the article together. I actually loved watching this show when it was on. So the software update available in the Rivian mobile app until November 4th provides car costumes which take over the vehicle's screen, lighting, and sound systems while in park to transform it into 3 different cars. Nostalgic fans of Knight Rider TV series will be pleased that there is an option to turn it into the kit. There's an extra treat for Rivian Gen 2 owners. The interior light bar will feature Kit's iconic beaming red light, and it actually goes back and forth. No, it's kind of like Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. So no less nostalgic fans of Back to the Future movies will get a treat to turn their car into the DeLorean time machine. With this option, the screen turns into the classic time traveling interface with the audio system, plays the movie's music and acceleration sound effects. So
I mean, this sounds fun.
Yeah, when you hit 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious, well, the camera's going to see some serious shit. Anyway, for more traditional spooky time, you can opt for the Haunted Rivian car costume featuring 8 different sound effects and 3 different color schemes. Static and ghosts will take over your interior display. So there's the DeLorean. There's
the
Kit. Is the third one just the regular?
Yeah. Oh. Yes, just regular Halloween.
Oh, look, they even make that little joke, huh? Hitting the key 88 miles per hour button will engage the car's light and sound effects front and back.
Well, that's smart. They didn't say, like, everybody go drive 88 miles per hour.
I'll do it. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. Why I paid $95 to recycle a mattress, and you might too. So it can be difficult and costly to avoid trashing your old mattress in a landfill. By the way, this other article that I was talking about Crohn's disease is actually in Technology Today. So it's one of the shows later on.
Oh, okay. It's coming up then.
Yep. So Greg Iacursey or Kirky, I'm not sure how they pronounce it, put this article together for CNBC.com. Donating their old queen-size mattress proved difficult. They recycled it and paid nearly $100 for the service in New York. More than 75% of mattress materials like wood, foam, steel, and fiber can be recycled, and the economics can be challenging for recyclers. Some states have enacted...
Oddly enough, there were 2 articles in ohmTown in the last 24 hours about mattresses problems like this. So it was really submitted just to bring awareness to it.
What do you think the other one was? Did you take a look at it?
It was specifically focused on a nonprofit that accepted these. They actually repurposed them. They didn't recycle them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But it was localized, so this one seemed like it got into the broader point.
So some states have enacted mattress recycling laws that make it cheaper for consumers. However, state programs are funded by a fee on mattress purchases. But if you don't have a mattress that's made of wood, steel, fiber, foam, memory foams, and stuff like that, I don't know, it might be a problematic. You can't shrink them down to deposit them somewhere without a really powerful vacuum sealing device. Your kitchen one, I don't think is going to do it. But yeah, they say it may sound odd, silly even to pay so much to dispose of a run-of-the-mill household item, but the economics of mattress recycling illustrate why it can be difficult and costly to be an eco-friendly consumer in the U.S. So they say it's a massive waste stream. Wow, look at all that. So for the podcast listeners, there's looks like a garbage dump, but I don't know if it's a legit one, but there's all of these mattresses all over the place. And even it looks like a propane tank.
Right. And or a bunch of tires as well.
CO2 tank and, tires all over the place. Yeah. We're kind of a dirty population, like whatever we don't actually consume, we operate really
as effectively. If everything's disposable.
Yeah. So the person says that they live in Brooklyn where residents dispose of a mattress for free as part of the routine trash pickup. As someone who meticulously tries to cut waste in everyday life, avoiding single-use plastics, composting food scraps, it was painful to think of theirs wasting away in a landfill. So you basically just drop it in the landfill, but surely I can find...
it'll take hundreds of years for it to break down.
Yeah, it says... Meg Romero, the recycling and litter control superintendent for Charles County, Maryland. That's interesting. They're talking about Brooklyn, New York, and then they drop down to Charles County,
Yeah,
Maryland.
it's kind of a weird
Just jump.
juxtaposition. I actually did preview this one, and they do talk about this other organization, but right now you're going, how does that connect to the Brooklyn issue?
Yeah, exactly. And or New York in general. So did I neglect to reach out to someone in some interested parties? Probably. But they transitioned into something else, right?
Well, they went to, it looks like at least actually more than four, multiple locations trying to get somebody to take this that could use it, and nobody could. So that's part of the problem with mattresses also.
Yeah. So how are they recycled? More than 75% of of a mattress is recyclable, according to MRC. Some companies put it closer to 90%, but you a person has to take it all apart, and um, automation isn't really going to work on this. The materials are then repurposed, shredded foam fibers as carpet padding, animal beds or insulation, wood as mulch and fuel, and springs as scrap steel, for instance. If you can recycle, it'll give those materials another life to be used as something else, said Romero of Charles County. That's so like medieval times kind of thing. I am Romero of Charles County, um,
Exactly. It sounds a little odd.
uh, knight of the recycled table. So that reuse has other environmental benefits. For example, there's reduced need to extract or source new materials for manufacturing, which cuts greenhouse gas emissions and water and energy use. But that's not how it really works. These companies want something that's new. They're in a particular supply chain that has lower cost than getting uh, recycled goods, because there's an added cost associated with that material. It isn't just the source providing the raw materials; it's now the source is getting recycled material, then having to take it all apart, then recondition it, either melt it down or shred it or turn it into whatever it's going to be repurposed for, and then it goes to the person that's turning it into something else. And so you end up with it being more expensive. Recycled stuff is more expensive, but it's
It is,
supposed to
and I
lower the
think the
cost.
best is to try to get it
Oh,
reused if it makes sense. But you have to find a place that will actually accept it, or an individual, right, through one of the, like an online forum.
yeah. So usually the Charles County service is largely free for residents. They can bring in 2 items a day, like a mattress and a box spring, to the Charles County landfill for recycling for no charge. Additional items cost $10 per piece, but you have to be a resident. So you're not going to come from New York and drop it off down here.
No, but they did recycle 900 of these in 1 month. So obviously there's a need out there.
Yep. So, and vice versa. You can't be living in Maryland and drop it off up here in New York. So either way, it's bound by the economics of that particular region. So a landfill is limited, finite space, said Peter Conway, president of Springback, Colorado, a recycler based in Commerce City. They want to put things that break down, things that are easily compactable. Mattresses are kind of the antithesis of this. That's almost what I was thinking to say exactly. So he expects to divert 8 million pounds of waste from Colorado landfills this year. So, and then they go into why it's expensive, but it's because there's so much overhead, there's so much processing that's necessary. And it's,
And multiple materials in one mattress.
yep. And this stuff is, while it's compactable, you have to do it in a vacuum. You have to suck all of the air out so it compresses down, and that isn't practical for a landfill to babysit. So they have to shred it and then send it off to somebody to reuse. And this kind of stuff ends up sometimes after processing in pillows and stuff, and in other mattresses. You can actually, like body pillows and stuff like this, can have this material in it. It's pretty cool.
Seems like the real solution will be for them to figure out a biodegradable mattress or something. Of
Everything.
course, that might be surprising. You're trying to sleep and you're like, where'd my mattress go? I know it won't happen immediately.
Yeah, and if you have the same mattress for 20 years, I think that's actually pretty spectacular nowadays. And they talk about it having razor thin margins because they sell multiples, and then people get rid of them and get new ones. It says we don't set the price for a ton of foam or steel. Conway said one day it might be 18 cents a pound, and the next it'll only get 10 cents. Um, and that's just the machinations of the business cycle. For example, Springback, Colorado used to send all its foam and ticking to a recycling center in California. Conway said it cost the company about $2,000 to ship each truckload. About a year ago, the California partner stopped accepting shipments. Demand had dried up for the material, Conway said. He called the companies as far afield as Mexico, Canada, India, and Egypt to find alternative placement, but ultimately found a new partner in Texas. They say it's pretty thin margins that we operate on, and somebody has to pay. So that's what you're going to end up having to do. You're eventually going to end up having to pay to get your mattress recycled.
And it looks like certain states are starting to put some programs in place. So that might help too, because right now there aren't that many organizations, either government or nonprofit, that are in this.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want it recycled and you want to be able to sleep at night on your new mattress, then you pay a fee and it gets recycled wholeheartedly instead of thrown into a landfill. But let's keep on going. Our last article for today is over in Non Sequitur News. Mail carriers reach tentative contract with USPS that includes air-conditioned trucks. Some 200,000 letter carriers reached a tentative deal with the Postal Service, which is a quasi-government organization, and was in much better financial situation until one of the prior administrations mandated a fully funded retirement account, which is an impossibility, and people don't do that. No corporation does that. They only pay out the retirement to the people who are retiring. But I think I'd really like to look at the account of the USPS and see if it was pilfered. But anyway, let's move on to the source of this. David Sharp over at abcnews.go.com. I think one of the ugliest vehicles in the did it reset to this? I hate it when they do
Well,
that.
and he's actually with the AP, but it's posted over ABC News.
Correct. Yeah. So the new agreement, which still needs to be ratified by the union members, runs through November 2026. Letter carriers have been working without a new contract since their old one expired in May 2023. Since then, they have continued working under the terms of the old contract. Both the union and the Postal Service welcomed the agreement, which was announced on Friday. Both sides didn't get everything they wanted, but by bargaining in good faith, we ended with an agreement that meets our goals and rewards our members. Brian Renfro, the president of the National Association of Letter Carriers, told the Associated Press, to make that happen, the Postal Service had to recognize the contributions of members to the post office or post service and the American people.
I don't even think it should be a question that they have air conditioning in their vehicles. Like they spend their entire workday in their vehicle, and we know that temperatures are rising. And we've seen similar things with private
FedEx and
sector like UPS and FedEx.
yep. Now, I think that it's astonishing. I actually titled this "Mail Carriers Get a Basic Upgrade." Um, Now, as part of the agreement, all city carriers will get 3 annual pay increases of 1.3 each by end of 2025. Some of which will be paid retroactively from November 2023. Workers will also receive retroactive and future cost of living adjustments. I think it's because that's when the contract ended. Yeah, May 2023. Which this is astonishing. This is honestly astonishing. A retroactive pay raise.
Oh, it absolutely is. But it's
And
good for the workers, although it's not as good as getting it at the time, but it's better than not getting it.
yeah, and hold on a second. I just want to make sure that yeah. So the USPS relies on revenue from the sale of stamps, products, and services to cover its expenses and is generally self-funded. However, the USPS has been unable to cover its expenses and debt for 15 years, but that I think is because of the machinations of
The
the,
change with the retirement program.
yeah. Um,
Well, and also expenses have gone up, but even though they've raised the prices of stamps, yes, I understand they might be very high percentages because the prices are so low to begin with, but they probably haven't kept pace with things like fuel costs and salaries and other things.
yeah. So, um, I think because it was a quasi government agency, but it didn't get taxpayer dollars, but it was forced to capitalize its retirement account like fully, which it was bizarre. Um, Now they're being, because of the agreement with the union workers, they're going back in time to pay people from November 2023.
Which is
That's,
just really interesting because you don't see a lot of back pay unless somebody had a lawsuit and won.
yeah, and that's an individual too. It isn't going to be
Well,
an
right, not
entire
an entire
union.
organization, right?
So within a few years, the fleet will have expanded to 60,000, most of them electric. We're talking about vehicles now. And that was the thing that actually triggered me into including this in the show today, was the fact that these human beings are driving around in these toasters and getting boiled because it's so damn hot in these cars. Um, Even risking their safety by having the door open. And just recently, we were um, outside of ohmTown, and a UPS truck, not a USPS truck, but a UPS truck, had its door open um, while they were driving to keep cool, because it was inordinately hot. So I found it really, and I've always kind of thought that this was weird. Like, why do they not maintain air conditioning in these vehicles, having to have the door open all the time? And I think it's because they have to open and close the door, so it's going to be kind of hammered a lot.
Right, and
But
it's probably going to be costly, but I'm sorry, that's hard to put a price tag for
yeah,
basic safety.
yeah, it's sociopathic. Even and it, I think the reality is it slows down uh, ingress and egress of the vehicle by these people who are carrying packages around. I just think that it's absurd. That's probably the uh, the rationale here. So apparently, this is the second contract negotiated since DeJoy was appointed in 2020. It is expected to take several weeks for union members to ratify it. I'm surprised that DeJoy is still around, considering how much and how I think. So DeJoy actually has a shipping company outside of USPS, which I've always thought is a conflict of interest. That's where he's from. And then he optimizes the USPS by destroying brand new equipment and stuff and just throwing it out, only being hobbled by public discourse, slamming the idea of it. And then they had to buy more equipment and put it back into place, is my understanding.
And I think he's put in place by a board, so the board needs to take action if they want to put somebody else in, and I don't think they have.
Nope, they have not. Anyway, and that's it, So what we're going to do for today's show is we're going to lick a stamp, and that'll bring us back to the front page of ohmTown here in a second. Boink. And I'm going to say, see you later. We're going to reset. And right after this show is, what are we going to do today? Is it going to be
More
technology?
crafters, and then we have technology today, and then four-wheel tech.
That's right. So we did 4 shows yesterday as well. 3 of them are the weekly shows and the non sequitur news. So we've got 3 more shows today. So see you in a little bit. You want to say bye?
Good night, hometown citizens. Stay tuned because we'll be back shortly.
See you soon. flights are so expensive and there's no leg room, so I'm going to box myself up and ship my butt from. I'm going to ship my pants from this location to Hawaii.